Welcome everyone to the Game Jam Aotearoa 2023. This is the fourth year that we're running this jam, and it's been an amazing week with some awesome submissions. For those of you who don't know, Game Jam Aotearoa is a New Zealand-based 48-hour remotely run game jam that takes place in conjunction with Tech Week every year. This year, we have a prize pool of over $3,000 worth of mentoring, asset packs, New Zealand games, and trophies thanks to all of our sponsors. There are three different award categories this year: Best Use of Theme, Innovation, and People's Choice. People's Choice prize has been judged by the public with over 400 votes being cast. The Best Use of Theme and Innovation winners will have been decided by a panel of hand-picked industry veterans from around the country. Game Jam Aotearoa couldn't have happened without the help and support of these amazing companies and organisations: Game Dev New Zealand, Cinti Studios, Dinosaur Polo Club, Cloudfire Studios, Black Salt Games, and Tech Week. This year we've had thousands of dollars worth of mentoring, asset packs and trophies, and games sponsored by all of these fantastic companies. And now it's time to introduce our keynote speaker for 2023 Game Jam Aotearoa Awards. Tim Ponting has 30 years experience in the games industry, starting as an acclaimed journalist and publisher of music, technology and video game magazines and websites. He later spent 5 years at Activision as a European PR director, overseeing communication strategies for the EMEA region and successfully launching popular brands like Call of Duty and Guitar Hero. Since 2007, Tim has been the director of Renegade PR, where he's passionately driven communications for video games, supporting both large publisher franchises and independent projects. He currently serves as the chief executive at the New Zealand Centre of Digital Excellence, or CODE, furthering his dedication to the games industry. Tim, it's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you very much. So yes, that makes me sound a lot more impressive and important than I really am. If you meet me in person, I'm really very, very down to earth and easy to get along with. But there you go. I want to talk to you this evening because I'm sure a lot of you are interested to know a little bit about code. So I've got a really short presentation to run through just to give you a bit of a background and then get to the important bit, which is asking questions about how you can get your games funded by code. So if I share my screen now, hopefully this will work. Bear with me one moment, please, caller. Back to the start. Ta-da! There we go. Are we up? Yes, that hopefully should be okay. Somebody will shout at me if it's not. So without further ado, just quickly I'll run through the story of how code began. So in 2017, the Labour Party made a manifesto commitment, which was to launch the Centre of Digital Excellence in Dunedin. There was actually in the Shadow Cabinet quite a row between various people. This was according to Jacinda Ardern, who told me that she'd been voting for West Auckland to be the recipient of the code funding. But anyway, to cut a long story short, Dunedin won. And we spent the next couple of years putting a business case together to present to the Provincial Growth Fund, and our application was successful in 2019. So in 2020, just as COVID hit, Code began with me in the driving seat as establishment director, and we immediately set about getting some funding off the ground. So that was under the kind of watchful eye of the Dunedin City Council. So our first funding round opened in July 2020. And we also started right back at that point doing quite a lot of curriculum development work with our partners in the city of Dunedin. Fast forward through 2021, we continued with further funding rounds for studios in Dunedin. We launched a new type of funding for growing studios. Worked a lot on capability uplift, which I'll talk about in a minute. And we even started some after-school clubs for kids in years 7 and 8 to kind of get into coding in the first place. In the year that's just been, we had our first presence at Melbourne International Games Week. So there were 10 games on display there, which was a fantastic result. We got lots and lots of interest from industry and consumers alike at GCAP and PAX. We also had our first intake last year into the full tertiary education streams. So that's new courses available at the University of Otago and at Otago Polytechnic. And we began to give out travel grants, which enables studios that have got games that they're trying to commercialize to travel overseas to try and get deals. And you'll see there's a strategically empty space there, and that's where 2023 is going to go in just a moment. So I wanted to talk really quickly about the 3 pillars that Code is built on, because even though we started in Dunedin, and obviously we're still headquartered there, these pillars will continue with the work that we're doing nationally. So the most obvious one is funding. And we spend about 1/3 of our time on this, but over half of our money. So that is grant funding. So it's funding that you never have to give back. That's great news. And that funding is for building prototypes, starting or continuing production, accelerating ambition, so for companies that are growing. And as I say, with the travel grants to do business at industry content marketplaces around the world. So this year we'll be scouting out Gamescom, and hopefully we'll be in a position to take some teams to Europe, not just Australia, in 2024. The next really important pillar for us is capability. Uniquely, Code, instead of the majority of funding schemes around the world, where they say, fill out a form, we'll look at it and decide whether we're going to give you any money to make your game. We actually, we surround the whole process of applying for funding with mentorship. So if you apply for funding with Code and your expression of interest is accepted by us, then we'll talk to you about your application and try and get it as polished as it possibly can be, and guide you through that application process. And then at the end, if you're successful, we won't just give you the money and tell you to go away and spend it. We'll also have milestones that we go through with you, and we'll surround it with mentorship and support from the team and from external mentors as well. And it's not just the teams that are successful that get this support. So we're really proud that in every single funding round that we've had so far, teams that didn't actually get funding have come back and become successful in future funding rounds. And that's really, really important to us. Aotearoa is a small country, and industry, if it, per head of population was the same size as the industry, say, in the UK, where I'm from, we'd have 7 times as many game development studios and 7 times as many people working in those studios. So we got lots of room for growth, and that's really why the government wants to support this area. So yeah, that's kind of the capability work that we do. We also do workshops. So anybody who's watching this stream who lives in New Zealand, keep your eye open on all the code socials, Twitter, Facebook, etc. And there are workshops which we announce, which you'll be able to join remotely via Zoom. And we've had some awesome ones. We've got a pitching workshop, which hasn't yet been announced, which will be coming up to support you in your applications for the first national funding round, which will open in August of this year. And then the third and final kind of pillar that we operate is what we loosely call pathways. So we have a very close relationship with tertiary institutions in Dunedin. We will be supporting institutions around the whole of the Motu, but it's much more difficult for us to do very personalized stuff with the amount of money that we have. So we're more going to be sharing good practice and some of the things that we've learned with tertiary establishments around the country, supporting whānau, supporting teachers in the pathways that they're providing for tamariki and rangatahi around the whole of the motu. So pathways is that third pillar, and on a national basis, it's probably not going to translate quite as well as it has done in Dunedin. But we'll see. We'll do the best that we can with the money that we have from government. So just to give you a really quick snapshot of Dunedin, the most significant thing here is that at the end of 2021, which is when this New Zealand Game Developers Association map was made, we had gone from 4 studios, which is what we had in January 2020, which made it the 4th biggest city making games in Aotearoa, to the 2nd biggest with 19 studios as it was at the end of 21. But we're actually up to 25 studios now. And this is as a direct result of the code funding. So there's lots of stats on here. Probably a lot of it won't mean a lot to you. We've given away $3.24 million. But the interesting thing, both for the government and for us, is that $8.46 million has been invested apart from the money that we've put in. So in other words, for every dollar that we spend, $2.61 so far has been spent by other investors. So it's either publishers or venture capitalists or the like. So it's been pretty successful. And also 90 jobs have been created, which makes it one of the most successful regional development fund programs that there have been. A couple of other little stats. We're a long way behind in terms of equity for Māori in this space. The national average of Māori representation in studios is just 3%. We're at 8% now in Otago, but it's 15% of the population. So we've got a long way still to go to reach equity, but it's one of our key objectives. So if you're Māori or you know Māori making games in the industry out there, we're here to support you. We want to know everything that you're doing. The other thing which is really important to us is diversity in general. So we're very proud actually that just under half of the studios that we have funded have leadership. So, a studio head who is from a group that is underrepresented in the industry. So that's typically women, Māori, LGBTQIA+, and so on. Just quickly going forward to this year, so you can get an idea of where we're headed. So in February, so just a couple of months ago, 3 months ago, 4 months ago, we signed a contract with IMBI to start delivering code services to the rest of the country. So we've got the initial program kind of sorted out in those 3-4 months. Travel grants opened in April. We've got one final round of Dunedin only funding going this year. And then we've got a recruitment process going on now to get some staff to work in the North Island. So we can largely cover the South Island ourselves, but we've got some really exciting people that we're interviewing for those jobs in the North. And then in August, we will be opening up the first national funding round. So what we're calling the Not Dunedin round. And then there will be a national presence at Melbourne International Games Week this year. And we're planning a stand which is twice the size of the one last year. So just to show you kind of how the money works. So there is a Dunedin pot, which, to cut a long story short, is around $1.2 million a year, and that will continue until 2027, and that will remain focused on Dunedin. So that is the funding from Kānoa, which used to be called the Regional Development Unit. Then the not Dunedin pot, if you like, which is everything except Dunedin, we have 2.25 million a year until 2027, and that's delivered from IMBI. If you think about the kind of the number of studios in Dunedin, the stage they're at, kind of makes sense that Dunedin's still getting a fair amount of money. But by the time we reach 2027, the end of 27, Dunedin's spending will be way down, and the not Dunedin spending will have grown to match it. So everything will be right-sized. And then in 2028, from that point on, We are operating at present on $2.25 million a year, which is quite a tight budget for us, but we can still deliver some support and some good grant funding out of that pot. So obviously we'll be representing to government as much as we can and seeing if we can get a little bit more money out of them. So I'm not going to dwell on these case studies. Honestly, there are 25 studios in Dunedin. You can probably find quite a few through Google, but three of the really nice stories that we have. Aotearoa is a game from Aotearoa Interactive. They came to us with a kickstart in round one and then received startup funding in round three. A team of four, they've had follow-on funding from Manatū Taonga. It's been a real success story. It's the first game in Te Reo Māori to be shown overseas. They're currently negotiating with publishers. And Lisa, who's the studio head, or one of the two studio heads, is actually teaching at Otago Polytechnic. So it's kind of everything going full circle. Abiotic Factor from Deepfield, a team of five. They kind of came a little bit out of the ashes of Rocketworks in Dunedin when Rocketworks kind of closed in Dunedin and relocated to Auckland to make Icarus. They've had substantial investment externally, multiple publishers interested as a result of being at PAX, and they're doing really well, and we're very excited to see that game launch in the next 12 months. And then finally, Balancing Monkey Games, who made Before We Leave, which you may have heard of. That actually predated Code, but their sequel received $250,000 funding from us, which actually allowed them to grow the team, release the game much quicker, help them escape from a publishing deal that wasn't quite right for them, to a different publisher, which is much more suited to that kind of a game. And they've also been incredibly supportive of the community in Dunedin. So we're really looking forward to bringing the funding to everybody nationally. And so we'll have some case studies which have got studios that aren't from Dunedin, hopefully from maybe 12 months from here. Thank you for listening to me wittering on for a while. Before taking questions, I'll just quickly run through the three main types of funding, and probably for the audience on the stream here, there's two that are really relevant. So the first type of funding, which you will be able to apply for in August of this year, is called Kickstart, and that is up to $40,000, which is designed to enable you to produce a prototype. So the idea is you come to us with the details of the game that you want to prototype, or you might have a very early prototype that you want to develop into a much more fully fledged kind of vertical slice, and there's up to $40,000 that you can access for that. The other type of funding, which is probably most relevant, is called Startup. That's up to $150,000. Again, that will be opening in August of this year for nationally located studios. That is for production. Now, we all know that $150,000 is unlikely to see a game, indie game released. It costs quite a lot of money to make an indie game these days. But the idea of that $150,000 is either to get you to the point where you can raise further money from a publisher or perhaps a different investor. Or if you're already underway with production, it will allow you to finish the game or take the production much further down the line. So it's an easier sell to publishers who you're pitching. So those are the two main kinds of funding that I think will be of interest to people who are on the stream. The one thing to say is what we're looking for is not actually individual games. It's all about you, the people, right? So what we want to do is fund teams that are serious about making games and serious about building successful businesses with IP owned here in Aotearoa. And so, we'll fund some projects that won't work, that won't find a market, but everybody who goes through the code system is going to have their skills improve, their knowledge and understanding of selling internationally uplifted. And hopefully in that way we can help establish a much more secure and sustainable development ecosystem here in New Zealand. Anyway, I really have shut up now. So if there are any questions, please do fire away, and over to you.
Thank you, Tim. That's amazing. First of all, I guess you've finished a prototype at a game jam or something similar. And what are the next steps to apply for funding for that concept or that idea? What do you need to prepare for for going for these applications?
A good question, right? So basically, in August, what will happen is we'll make an announcement that expressions of interest are open. Now, what we really encourage you to do is apply with an expression of interest, because even if you're not successful, it's a really easy form to fill in. It'll only take you maybe an hour, a couple of hours to fill out. You're not locked into applying. So it's literally just saying, hey, we're interested in this. This is what we're doing. And that's going to be really helpful for us because it means that we know you're out there. So even if you're not eligible, even if you're not quite at the right place, we know that you're there and we know that you're interesting, talented, and kind of active people in the game development ecosystem. So the next stage after that is we go through all of those expressions of interest, and we'll have a bit of weeding out. So some will be ineligible, like for example the people who applied from South Africa at one stage. So you have to be based in New Zealand or intend to move to New Zealand. So once we've gone through that process, you then have the opportunity to we'll basically send you a notification that you can fill out the massive application form, and it's a pretty big job. So what that entails is putting together what we call the brochure game design document. So it's your project overview. And there'll be lots and lots of things that you have to think about. There'll be a budget you have to put together that will have lots of space in it for putting your production milestones, putting in all the details of the staff and contractors who are working on the project. If you're a solo dev, you can still apply, but we still want to see the kind of tasks and jobs that you have to do to get to the point from where you join the program to where you deliver your final build to us. So whether that's a prototype or a different step of production. So if you've been working together on a game jam, I'd say definitely make sure you understand who owns the project. It's definitely true that there've been many cases of disputed ownership after game jam. So make sure you're very clear on that. And then make sure you get your expression of interest in on time in August, as you only have a couple of weeks window to do that. And then there's about 7 weeks after that closes to put in a full application. So that's kind of how the process works.
That's awesome. Thank you. We've got another question that's popped up on the stream. What support are you currently or planning or providing to high schools?
So it's a really difficult one, actually, and it's something that we've been struggling with for the last 2 or 3 years. So there are really 2 ways to support high schools. One is from the top, which is from the Ministry of Education downwards, and that's incredibly hard for anybody, any company, even multinational organizations find it quite hard to get in the door there. The other way is to come up from the bottom, which is talking to individual teachers. And of course, the issue then is there are tens of thousands of high school teachers across the country, and we can't possibly talk to them all at the same time. So, we've managed to work with some individual teachers in Dunedin. But what we are hoping over time, and this will take time, is that the kind of stuff that we are working on will start to percolate and become available online. So a good example of this would be for the Festival of Interactive Narrative. We came up with a simple program for Year 10 students in doing Digitech stuff or English stuff, in fact, to start working on interactive narrative. So using tools like Twine and Ink to work on simple interactive projects. And that's kind of a first step in high school towards more complex interactivity. We're also working with Unity and also with Epic, with their teams who are responsible for their education programs, to see if we can actually simplify the offering that's there and make it more accessible to school teachers. So yeah, we haven't been highly successful, I would say, at secondary schools, particularly so far. But it's something that we are constantly going to be working on over the next few years. We obviously, everything we have done, we're quite happy to share with teachers. So if you do know teachers who are interested in this whole area, do get them to get in touch with us. They can just email that address on screen. And we can connect them with teachers who have been working on stuff here in Dunedin, and see if that's helpful.
Fantastic. Awesome. One final question. What can existing game dev companies or community organizations do to help contribute to Code's initiatives?
That warms the cockles of my heart. What can you do to help us? It's a really good question. So the things that are really great for us are, make sure we know you exist. So if you're out there and you work for a big company, we'll know about you. But if you're perhaps in an area of the country where we don't know a lot of game development studios, it's going to be really good for us to know that you're there. The other thing is if you have an area of expertise or a subject that you're particularly knowledgeable or passionate about, then get in touch with us, because it may be that we can get you to deliver a workshop, or at least maybe deliver some kind of presentation at a game dev meetup, whether that's like on stream, like Christchurch has remote speakers sometimes on their meetups, or in person at a meetup in Wellington or Auckland. So yeah, if you have skills that you can share, that would be absolutely marvelous if you can get in touch with us. And I would say everyone gets paid, so particularly for the workshops, because they're quite a lot of work to prepare. People, there is money available for people who can teach and share that expertise. The other thing is, I'd really encourage everybody, help each other. A rising tide lifts all boats. And we've found in Dunedin that since we've been active, studios have become much more collaborative and helping each other. So if you want to help code, helping each other is one of the best ways that you can actually do that. Share the knowledge, particularly about your commercial successes and failures, things that have worked, things that haven't worked. And that will be really, really brilliant from where we're sitting.
Amazing. Excellent. Thank you so much for joining us this evening, Tim. It's been really great having you.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much for listening to me wittering on.
Cheers.
Okay, cheers then.
This year we had a big campaign a big thank you must go to music accounts. You guys mentioned you. A big thank you must go out. Right, sorry about that. I had the music far too loud, and it was my bad. A big thank you must go out to all the judges who helped select the best use of theme and innovation winners this year. Amy, Benjamin, Jared, Alexis, Hannah, and Anna. And also a big thanks to all of our experts that were available over the weekend to help out our contestants this year. So Poppy, Mikey, Paul, Philip, Glenn, and Ian, thank you everyone. I'm going to pop back one frame because you guys would have missed it because of the music being too loud. But this year we had a fantastic amount of people taking part, submitting and voting on the games, with 29 entries, over 100 people taking part, and more than 400 individuals voting for the People's Choice Award. Alright, this year's Game Jam Aotearoa theme was old and new, and there were some absolutely fantastic submissions that played really well into the creative use of the theme. And now it's time, the time that everyone's been waiting for, to find out who our finalists are and who will be walking away with one of these. They will be shipped to a nominated individual. So let's kick it all off with the best use of theme category. This game is one the judges felt made the best and most original use of this year's theme. Right. Sorry, I'm getting messages saying the music is still too loud, so hopefully that should be fine. This year's finalists for best use of theme are Out with the New from Team Jam Waiters, Hell's Hourglass from Team Spicy Lemon, The Legend of Robert Future Shock from Eli Borgman, and Towering Through Time from Jack Milner. Well done to all of the finalists. And now, the winner for the best use of theme is... Congratulations to Eli Borgman for winning Best Use of Theme with their game The Legend of Robert Future Shock. You are the proud new owners of $300 worth of Cinti store vouchers, an hour mentoring with Nadia Thorne from Black Salt Games, an hour's worth of mentoring from Rob Curry from Dinosaur Polo Club, Steam keys from some of New Zealand's best-selling games, and a shiny in real life trophy for you to share with your team thanks to Cloudfire Studios. And now it's time for the Innovation Award. This is the game that the judges felt had the most original, innovative gameplay experience and mechanics. This year's finalists for innovation are The Never Ending Story from Fraser Cohen, Hell's Hourglass from Team Spicy Lemon, Chimkin Run from Team Send It Inc., and Decay from Team Scapegoat. Well done to all the finalists, and now the winner for the innovation is... Congratulations to Team Spicy Lemon for winning the innovation category with their game Hell's Hourglass. You are proud new owners of $300 worth of Cinti store vouchers, an hour's worth of mentoring with Nadia Thorne from Black Salt Games, an hour's worth of mentoring with Rob Curry from Dinosaur Polo Club, Steam keys from some of New Zealand's best-selling games, and a shiny, in-real-life trophy for you to share with your team thanks to Cloudfire Studios. And last, and certainly not least, we have the People's Choice Award. This is the game that was voted the highest by you, the people, over the last few weeks. This year's finalists are Towering Through Time from Jack Milner, Hell's Hourglass from Spicy Lemon, CRABS or Crabs from Team Mandrake, and Decay from Team Scapegoat. Well done to all the finalists. And now, the winner for the People's Choice Award is... Congratulations to Team Mandrake for winning the People's Choice category with their game Crabs. You are the proud new owners of, you've guessed it, $300 worth of Cinti vouchers, an hour's worth of mentoring with Nadia Thorne from Black Salt Games, an hour's worth of mentoring with Robert Curry from Dinosaur Polo Club, Steam keys from some of New Zealand best-selling games, and yes, a shiny in real life trophy for you to share with your team thanks to Cloudfire Studios. Even if you didn't receive an award, everyone should get a round of applause for the massive effort they put in over the 48-hour weekend. Well done to everyone that took part. Making a game is hard, and doing it over a weekend is even harder. Thank you again to this year's Game Jam Aotearoa sponsors and supporters, Game Dev New Zealand, Cinti Studios, Dinosaur Polo Club, Cloudfire Studios, Black Salt Games, and TechWig. Thank you for joining us for the 2023 Game Jam Aotearoa Awards. We look forward to having you all back for next year's Game Jam Aotearoa.